brain, all you saying, but like Dale Earnhardt, the game is racing through my veins, and I quit.
Adrien Broner's not. Okay, all right, this is what I'll say. Around the time when Adrien Broner had the interview with Jim Gray after the Emmanuel Taylor fight, and he told Jim Gray, no disrespect or something like that, Jim. He said something like that to the tone of, I knew he was going to be tough because he was an African American. And then he went on this little, little gimmick of, anybody can get out in the can, man, African, a Mexican. And then it was like, oh, but calling someone a Mexican, it's not racist. Then he had to issue an apology to the WBC. But it's just that around that time, they was basically trying to put a muzzle on him to the point where it's like, all right, you've been getting a little out of control with your mouth lately. And that was what that situation was. But now you hear, that he turns down the $40 million Jay-Z deal. Now, I personally don't think it was a good deal. $40 million for 5 years for somebody as young as him, But I do feel that, of course, we know the way he turned it down was fucked up. You don't say no shit like that to Jay-Z. Now, whatever people say about Jay-Z, about his personal life, whatever you say, still, as far as business is concerned, whether you like him or not, you don't never say nothing like that to him. If it's somebody I don't like, but when it comes to business, it's like, you don't talk to nobody like that. So that just was just showing, disrespectful. All in the media and everything, and then Jay-Z bread's way longer than yours. And I'm not trying to, keep it on an urban level and, talk about, well, Jay-Z money, he got more money than him and this and that. I'm trying to make the point of Jay-Z is very respected. He's got a very brand new it's respected in this early stage. Rock Nation is respected. And it's like you talk to him like that, so you don't know what may happen in the future. You don't know, especially with Rock Nation growing the way that they are, just throwing all this money at everybody. So it's like you don't want to burn bridges like that. But let's get to the topic at hand. On March the 7th, 2015, Adrien the Problem Broner is going to be taking on John Molina Jr. It's going to be on the undercard of Rebel Guerrero versus Keith Thurman in the MGM Grand on NBC Primetime Television. They had an invite-only media press conference to announce it with Sugar Ray Leonard. God knows all the media that should be there. I should have been there, but that's a long story. Maybe 2-3 years from now, they'll know. Let's make sure we get him an invite. But when you look at it, stop it. And people say, why don't you have the dog in the videos? Because he started doing shit like licking his balls dead in my video. Now, on primetime television, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hitman Hurds, Roberto Duran, you got Al Michaels returning. You got boxing hasn't been on national television in 30 years. And Adrien Broner, you can't be in shape. Now, fighting against John Molina, I understand John Molina's coming off of 2 losses. Honestly, I do not know how Adrien Broner is really getting respect for taking this fight, because you have to ask yourself multiple questions. Well, okay, I understand on television, but how much is he getting paid to fight John Molina? And technically, despite the fact that John Molina lost 2 fights, his last 2 fights, John Molina can beat him. Especially if Bruno don't get him out of there. But then again, John Molina does hold like a record for being stopped at like some crazy amount of time by Antonio DeMarco. And remember what Adrien Broner did to Antonio DeMarco with a mean ass uppercut. So I remember that. I covered that fight live. But it's like this. Right now, he don't got no neck. And it's like, like as a regular person, Adrien Broner's not fat. He's not out of shape. But for him to be a 140-pound fighter, it's like, especially if because he knew that he was going to be having to do this super secret press conference, and he knew all about this NBC situation. So looking at stuff like that, I'm thinking, how could you not take this seriously? How could you not, take this seriously? That's the type of shit you want to make sure you show up right. You on NBC, they had to wear suits. They wore suits. So the fact that, in less than 60 days, about 50 days or so, about 55 days or so, he's got to get down to 140 pounds right now. We'll say he's like 160 plus, maybe. Plus, I know he's 160 plus. I wouldn't dare say he's 180. But, goddamn, he's big as shit. So you got to question the mentality of him. And, and once again, it's all about now. It's like, what if you lose Adrien Broner? He said he's supposed to fight 4 times this year, but what if he loses? You know? And then it's like a fan like me, and fans know that his weight goes up and down, and, you know, we question his focus on his craft. We think, well, you turned in all that money. What if you lose, you know? Broner can't take another loss right now. Not now. You know, not when you're fighting Carlos Molina, Emmanuel Taylor, and then John Molina. You know, remember, like, we're giving him passes because we know that Adrien Broner is good and he can be not the future, but a part of the future of the sport. Adrien Broner sells tickets. He put people in seats. So, right now, somebody like me who's a fan, even though I don't like some of the dumb shit he does, but I have a whole higher amount of respect for him than I do Floyd Mayweather as a person, believe it or not. So, we want to see Broner do good. We want to see him do good. But with the career that he has, when we see something like this, especially with the weight situation, it's like, man, it just don't look right. Like, he was bigger than Robert Guerrero, and he was bigger than Keith Thurman. You know? And Keith Thurman be fighting at 154. Not now, but he did at one point in time. I am T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. T Street Controversy on Facebook. T Street Controversy on Twitter. T Street Controversy on Instagram. #1 boxing reporter. Fastest growing on YouTube, period. RealCombatMedia.com. El Diablo Sports Apparel. GTM Sports Banners. And I got a couple more. Wow. I know I'm going to get tired of saying that, but it feels sure good to say it. Please subscribe.